Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this 1.5 hours masterclass on challenges of implementing cybersecurity in rail industry. I would really like to thank you all for taking out your precious time for this session. And on behalf of Railway Academy and Cervello, I welcome you all. For people who are attending this our webinars for the first time, I would like to introduce about our organization and then invite our speakers to start the sessions. So we are a training organization primarily focused around railway sector and smart mobility. We have been active since last 5 years, and we have trained more than 5,000 people around the world in this sector across signaling, rolling stock, rams, safety, and many other disciplines. So we offer a virtual academy for railway professionals who are looking at gaining knowledge to progress in their career. We also partner with organizations to equip their employees with right skill sets and technical knowledge related to railways and smart mobility. And we help them train their employees for future-ready railways. If you look at our training programs, we cover a huge gamut around rams and safety, which covers Senelec standards, functional safety, data management, rams. Around application engineering, we cover TCAS, application logic trainings. Railway signaling, we've got extensive program portfolio on signaling design. Then we also have training programs on country-specific signaling standards. For example, Australian signaling, New South Wales, we've got a training program on UK signaling. Apart from this, we have also launched training programs on CBTC, ERTMS, ETCS, EI Logics, PTC. We also have a training program on EMI/EMC, which is around electrical engineering, OHEs, train propulsion systems, rolling stock. We recently launched a program. We are also one of the training organizations in rail sector who do IRSC Module A coaching. So we have a program on Module A. Apart from this techno management aspects of railways, we have programs on project management, rail costing, lean project management, contracts and negotiations for capital investment projects. Railway management is what we have been working on programs. So anybody who's interested to upskill themselves can contact us for more insights on them. Okay. We provide onboarding solutions, recruitment solutions, custom training solutions to various organizations in the rail sector. I would like also take this opportunity today to invite you to follow our social media channels on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. We keep organizing many webinars, and if you follow our channels, you can get notifications about upcoming webinars, our courses, and you could be well informed about the courses and webinars we'll be bringing out in the future. So these are QR codes up there. You can record it. You can access them, follow them. Recording for today's webinar would also be available onto our YouTube channel. So I encourage, and would also be shared on our LinkedIn channel. So I request you to kindly subscribe to our channels on LinkedIn and YouTube to get access to the recording session as well. So what we are looking at covering today, so with our experts, with our two experts today, we'll be looking at covering what is the railway cybersecurity threat landscape. We'll provide an overview of the railway application lifecycle, covering design, development, testing, deployment, operation, and maintenance. Third point we'll be covering today are what are the cybersecurity challenges at each stage, from design development, testing, deployment, operation, and maintenance. Fourth point, we'll be doing a review on the emerging standards in the industry, regulations and security directives around the world by covering CLC TS 50101, IEC 63452, NIS 2 directives. Next, we'll be looking at covering why is a rail organization so challenging to protect. We'll look at covering various aspects around challenges with a perspective from a rail organization. We'll cover what are the minimum requirements to handle a cybersecurity event. And we'll cover the 7 points, cybersecurity risk assessment in railways. So our experts would be giving you a perspective and a method to evaluate risk in railway systems. So we'll cover all these 7 points, and in next 1.5 hours. Railway cybersecurity as an industry is rapidly evolving, and we strongly believe that this industry, which is expected to reach 14 billion USD in another 4 years to 5 years, we expect many rail professionals to take transitions into rail cybersecurity domains, and the emerging new workforce who will be joining the rail industry will be equipped with cybersecurity knowledge and domain expertise. So this is a very emerging industry, and that is the reason we thought of organizing a knowledge webinar on the subject. And going forward, there are certain protocols we have defined for today's webinar. So we welcome all questions from the participants. We have a request that please ask your queries in the chat box. I would be the moderator for today's session and would be picking up your questions to ask from the experts at appropriate breaks. Even the experts would be looking at your chats, and whenever they feel that it's relevant to the topic they're covering, they'll pick them up. If we miss any question, we will cover it towards the end of today's session. So kindly do not unmute your microphones and ask your queries in the chat box only. We will take a 5-minute break at 8 p.m. Presentation shall be followed by a Q&A session, and recording of this session will be available on Railway Academy YouTube channel. So I would like to introduce our speakers. Let me see if Mr. Israel has joined. Please allow me 1 minute to check if our speaker or expert from Cervello has joined the session. Okay, so Rajesh sir, I think the Mr. Israel is yet to join. So, sir, I would like, can we take up some questions as we get the expert join the session? Okay, yes, I think he's joined.
Hello.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Israel.
Hi, Sumit. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for joining the session. I was looking
No?
for you, in fact. Thank you. Okay,
Pleasure.
welcome. So participants, our expert from Cervello has joined, Mr. Israel Barron. So I have a very short introduction about him. He is currently Senior Vice President with Cervello, Customer Relationships, and he comes with 20 plus years of rail cybersecurity experience, uh, encompassing diverse aspects of railway cybersecurity, and he will be the lead trainer and expert for today's session, representing Cervello. So I welcome you, Mr. Israel, for this session.
Thank you.
Mr. Rajesh Patel is another expert with us today. He comes with an ISA and RAMS and safety background, and he'll be representing the industry side of perspective. He'll be bringing the industry side of perspective to handle questions from the industry and rail professionals about career, scope, industry growth, and other aspects. So I welcome both our experts, and Israel, you may start your presentation, and if you'd like to add some more information about your profile and experience, please go ahead.
Yeah, for sure, Sami, thank you very much. Just one question. We are supposed to start in 11 minutes, so it's your call whether to start or not. Maybe we will have more participants joining, I don't know.
So, no, we can start now if you're comfortable with this.
I'm comfortable. Should I share my presentation?
Yes, sir. Please share your presentation.
Mm-hmm. Please let me know if you can see it.
I can see it. Yes. Participant, I hope the presentation is visible to everyone. Please type in yes in the chat box. Okay, thank you. Yes, Israel, it's visible.
Thank you. Involved in protecting our nation, critical infrastructures and strategic projects. Later on, I was nominated to be the first CISO of Israel Railway. Back then, it was something like 8 years ago. The Prime Minister office under Benjamin Netanyahu decided to establish a new department that will be involved and responsible for all the civilian critical infrastructure in Israel. And he formed what is now called the INCD, which is the Israeli National Cyber Directorate. This entity was responsible for, and of course, transportation. So when they were established, they decided that Israel Railways is a critical infrastructure, as it should. And they demanded to establish a cyber department and nominate a CISO. And I had the honor to be the first CISO and establish this cybersecurity department from scratch together with the INCD. So my professional experience is combining both, let's say, regular critical infrastructure and projects, and the railway, working in a railway company. Today, I am working for the past 5 years. I was actually one of the first employees of Cervello. I met with the 3 founders during my time in ISR, in Israel Railways. And I'm acting as the VP. So I'm not involved in sales, rather I'm involved with the end clients, where I can cope and understand their challenges and threats and help them to mitigate those threats. Also, I am a part of several working groups around the world, representing the State of Israel and our company as a thought leader, as a professional. Some of the groups that I'm part of are working on the next cybersecurity standard for the rail industry. This standard is called IEC 63452. I represent the State of Israel in this working group. And this is a very unique group that is building on the top of IEC 62443 and the TS 5701, which are two of the most unique and I would say center standards today in the railway industry. And this standard is going to be the standard in the next future. About Cervello, we were founded in 2019. We are purely rail focused. We were established to find dedicated solution to the railway industry because back then there were none to be found, no dedicated cybersecurity solutions, and we believe that the regular solutions like regular OT IDS or IPS are not sufficient. So this is about us. We are already securing thousands of tracks. We are installed today in at least 3 national level railways around the world, both in North America, in APAC, and in Europe. And without further ado, let's continue with the presentation. So I'm sure that all of you are railway professionals, so I don't really need to elaborate about how important is the railway transport around the world, in India, in Europe, and in Israel, and it's everywhere that we go, and we see it all the time that the minute that you have a problem, whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's an accident in railway infrastructure, the country suffers. The citizens are suffering, and it's a critical infrastructure, not because somebody decided to do it, it's a real critical infrastructure. And as such, it made a very big change in the last couple of years from something which was very old with relays to something very advanced. Today, we already see the high-speed rails. You know, they have passenger infotainment systems like TVs and streaming media and Wi-Fi on board and passenger information systems. And the control centers are communicating to the rolling stock through public lines or cellular lines. Everything is airborne. So the problem is that because of this change, they are facing a lot of threats. And if we can map, after speaking with a lot of clients and partners, and from our experience, we can map 4 vectors that can consist of a railway threat landscape. The first one is the wireless communication. So today, as I'm sure you know, a lot of communication is not through real lines. Everything is going through cellular communications, through wireless, through Wi-Fi. And this poses a great threat because if we will, for example, look what is going on in Europe. So in Europe, the new standards for railway signaling networks are the ETCS level 2. And the ETCS level 2 is using GSM 3 generation to communicate with signaling commands from the control centers to the rolling stock. And I don't know if you know that, but GSM third generation is one of the most hackable protocols in the world, meaning that everybody with a little bit of knowledge and expertise can hack a signaling network, which is wireless. And this is insane. So we see a lot of that because it can give an attacker a way to attack the infrastructure without even leaving his home or his office. Because you can just log into this cellular communication if you know the numbers, and you can hack it very easily. So this is one of the hugest threats as I see it. The next one is the maintenance channel. Now, a lot of people tell me, look, you know, railways, yeah, it's critical infrastructure and it's dangerous, but it's a standalone network. It cannot be hacked. And this is wrong. This is the wrong approach because we all know that there is nothing like a standalone network because always you will have to get some maintenance procedures. You know, you will have technicians coming with their laptops, connecting to the infrastructure, uploading files, downloading pickup files, upgrading the software, upgrading the hardware. So you cannot control such a thing. You cannot control it because you cannot control what a technician brings into this standalone environment. You cannot control what is doing with the data. You cannot know whether his computer is deliberately or maybe undeliberately affected by some kind of a malware that can now enter your critical network and wait for a command or start to spread immediately. So the maintenance channel is the second vector for the threat landscape that we know about. The third one is the supply chain. And this is a huge challenge because, as operators, in the end, you get a service from third-party suppliers. It can be with railway parts. It can be for your IT environment. It can be for your OT environment. It can be hardware. It can be software. But in the end, you are not developing everything in-house. The railway industry is heavily relying on third-party suppliers to give them everything that I just mentioned, from IT to OT, through IoT, whatever. And again, today, we know of attackers that attack third-party suppliers in order to manipulate the end client to get the malware through those channels. And you can just look on what happened in Stuxnet 14 or 15 years ago in Iran to see how successful such an attack might be. Because then they had in the nuclear facility a standalone network. Nobody went in, nobody went out, but they bought software from third-party suppliers. And those third-party suppliers were attacked and they were manipulated to enter into the closed and secure network. So this is the third vector that we know about. The fourth vector is the rolling stock. And today, as I already mentioned, rolling stocks are like, a very advanced computer on wheels. Everything is connected, everything is computer authorized. You have the onboard unit with signaling software. You have the TCMS. You have Wi-Fi on board. You have everything, and you have the brakes and the air condition and the fire control and the automatic train stop system. So the rolling stock is like one very complex technological unit driving on wheels, going from one place to the other. And this is something you need to take under consideration because, again, for example, you have technicians connecting to it, you have people riding the train, logging into the Wi-Fi, and if you didn't made the necessary segmentation, so they can attack through the Wi-Fi, the operational network, control the brakes, control the air condition. They can do a lot of things. So now I want to go with you on several incidents that were published recently. And before I start, I want to tell you that, and this is what you can trust me on this one. What you read in the newspaper about cyber attacks is only the tip of the iceberg. And this is because that in most cases, the railway companies are government-owned, meaning that it's not allowed to publish what really happened. And in most cases, we don't know that the incidents are happening. Okay? So it's really, really, really the tip of the iceberg. The recent attack that was like, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, something like that. So Russian hackers attacked the Polish railway using some kind of an unauthorized access to the frequencies controlling the train, radio frequencies, resulting in disruptions to train services in Poland. Not only that, what the attackers did is control the audio systems, the speakers on top of the rolling stock, and playing the Russian, how do I say it? National, I forgot how I say it in English, but they played Russian words on top of the rolling stock. The Russian national anthem and speech by Putin. And this is insane, you know, they did it, you know, from their country without leaving the room. And this was just, you know, 2 weeks ago. The second one, again, August 2023, these are all very, very new. On Thursday evening, like most cyber attacks are happening, some gang called Akira leaked 85 gigabytes of data from a US railroad. 85 gigabytes of data. And, you know, to be able to steal so much data, it means that they were able to penetrate the network, take the data, and take it out. So one might say, okay, it's only information. But this information can be the drawings and the architecture of the signaling network, of the segmentation, IP addresses, a lot of information that attackers can use now to do more harm. And even if it's only, you know, public data, this is a real threat because they were able to penetrate the network and steal it. So tomorrow they will install a malware and not steal data. So if I were them, I would be really concerned about this. In May, just recently, some ex-contractor computer that was in Russia breached the DC Metro rail transit system. He was a former employee, external employee, contractor for WMATA, which stands for the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority. And he was able to remotely access the network from a computer in Russia. Again, without leaving his room. This is insane. You can just log, you can just access a remote critical network that people are traveling in and cargo is traveling in without leaving your home. This is insane. On November 2022, the Danish rail network came to stand still. Why? Because an attacker attacked a subcontractor. Remember what I told you before about the supply chain? This is a supply chain attack. This is a supply chain attack. It didn't attack the Danish railway. They attacked one of its suppliers. And because they were attacked, and because this contractor was supplying IT infrastructure to the Danish railway, they had to stop the entire country for 1 or 2 days. I don't remember how much, but it was 1 or 2 days. Standstill, complete standstill. It's insane. March 2022, again, IT system belonging to the FS, Italian Railway, and its subsidiaries, Trenitalia, suffered a major ransom cyber attack. And it disrupted ticket sales in stations, and personal information systems were affected, and such. So, you know, maybe nothing happened, but for reputation, this is not so good. Okay, so now that we went through some of the major incidents, I want to go briefly with you about the railway application lifecycle overview. So, like in any other system, the lifecycle begins with the design. In this phase, you know, you have the blueprints of the railway application. You define the functional requirements, the architecture, the interfaces. In this phase, from a cybersecurity perspective, the security should be integrated into the design process because we want it to be secured by design. Because we will look at it later, but if you don't do it in this stage, you will have a very hard time to do it at a later stage. The easiest and the best way is to design your system with the cybersecurity layer already inside. And for example, what we do today with Thales, I'm sure you all know Thales, the signaling manufacturer. Thales has took our cybersecurity IDS and installed it like a layer of security into their next generation signaling networks. So the client is getting a secured by design system. It doesn't have to go and buy a third-party solution and to install it. It's already there, installed. So this is the best way. But even if you do it, even in this initial stage, you design everything, now you have to go into development. And in the development phase, the application is built based on the design, and the secure coding play a crucial role here. Because now the R&D teams, they need to follow strict coding guidelines, because if they will not, later on, the attackers will be able to manipulate those code lines to make injection attacks and cross-site scripting and all of those buzzwords that we already know. And if they follow coding standards and frameworks, it can significantly reduce the risk of vulnerabilities. Now, it's not, and it's never going to be 100%, but it can lower the risk dramatically. After the development phase, we need to test. We may need to take the application into advanced testing, and this is essential to identify the security flows before we deploy the system. Now, this stage usually includes all kinds of testing, like static code analysis and dynamic application security testing, and making a little bit penetration testing. But this is the only way to do it, because you design something, now you develop it the way you think you should. But if you were wrong, if one of the developers in the R&D team did something wrong, so at least you need to do some kind of a test to make sure that whenever you want to deploy to the client, to hand over the application to the client, it will be secure. Now we are getting into the deployment. So after the application has passed testing and the quality assurance, the QA, it's going to be deployed to production environments. Now the cybersecurity measures in this stage after the deployment include security configuration management that involves setting up the application and underlying systems with the appropriate security settings. Now, for example, we can implement authorization and authentication mechanisms to further raise the security level of the system. After the deployment, people are going to use it. So we will have the operation. And in this stage, the application is actively used by the railway people, both the operators and the passengers. And such an application can be, for example, the passenger information system. So now we need to continuously monitor with IDS, intrusion detection systems, because it will be crucial to identify the threats. Any unauthorized activity or unusual pattern needs to be detected. And in the end, we will have maintenance. So, over time, we will have more vulnerabilities. And we already know that when we go to railway infrastructure today, we can find Windows 95 and Windows NT or Windows 2000 servers. And it has thousands of vulnerabilities that back then were not discovered, but now we know that they are can be manipulated. So things are changing all the time. So we need to maintain it. We need to start and search for vulnerabilities. And we need to implement security patches and do it all the time, because if we will not, the application which was secure to this point of time, in 10 years will not be secured. So this is the entire railway application lifecycle overview. And the question is asked, in which stage should we implement the cybersecurity? Now, the way I see it, the sooner, the better. Meaning that in greenfield projects, meaning new projects, we can implement it in the design phase. And there will be secured by design. And this security will withstand the entire phase of the application. So, for example, if I will use my previous example to the PIS, the Passenger Information System, if I would have developed it using the correct coding techniques and I implemented the security in the design process, so now it's secured. But if I didn't, I will look upon it as a brownfield project, because this is a project which is already installed. So where can I employ cybersecurity in a project which is a brownfield, which is already deployed and used? I can do it or in the deployment, or in the operation, or in the maintenance. Those are the kind of places that I can insert the cybersecurity measures. Now I want to go with you over the main standards that currently are in the world of railway cybersecurity. So the first standard, and I think it's the most known out of them all, is the technical specification TS 5701. The 5701 was issued, I think, in 2018 or 19 in Europe. And it provides the railway operator and the integrators and the suppliers a technical specification, a guidance on how cybersecurity needs to be managed in the context of RAM's lifecycle process. This standard aims to the implementation of a consistent approach to the management of the security in railway systems. It can also be applied to the security assurance of systems and components developed independently of EN 5126, the RAMs. It covers communication, it covers signaling and processing domain, rolling stock, fixed installations domain. And by the way, it was adopted by the railway industry, even though that it's not a standard per se. It's only a technical specification, but back then, there was nothing else. So immediately, railway companies took this document, which is very simple, and they adopted it. And until today, we see a lot of tenders still referring to this technical specification. Two or 3 months ago, this technical specification was updated with the 2023 version. Again, it handles the same thing, railway application, cybersecurity. Again, it provides the same guidelines. And the key aspects in this document is how to identify the threats and the risks. It defines the process to how to identify, how to assess, how to manage cyber threats and the risks in the railway application, how to identify potential vulnerabilities and possible cyber attacks, and most importantly, how to assess the impact of those threats on the operation. Because I remind you that for a railway operator, he doesn't care about cybersecurity. What he cares about is only one thing, the operation. That's it. Nobody in a railway company sells cybersecurity. You agree with me, right? Nobody. They only care about the operation. If I can take the vulnerabilities and attacks and all the threats and divert them into the real world, this is something special, right? And you will see later about it a little bit more. The second thing it provides, this document, is how to protect critical functions. What are the measures to protect critical functions in the applications in the railway environment? This includes the technical measures, for example, how to encrypt the data, how to make user authentication, or how to manage access rights. The first thing is how to manage cybersecurity incidents in railway application, how to report the incident, how to make forensics investigation, how to analyze the threat, and eventually, how to take appropriate action to mitigate the threat. And the last thing it provides is a safe development process. It recommends the best way to implement safe development processes. Now, the working group that I am part of, the IEC 63452, take this document, the TS 5701 and the IEC 62443, and we merge them together into one document that will get the best of both. So what is the 63452? This is going to be, like I mentioned before, the standard for the railway industry. It is developed by the International Electronical Commission, the IEC. And it's a groundbreaking advance in safeguarding rail networks. It's tailored to meet the requirement and the challenges that modern rail systems have, and to ensure the resilience and security against cyber threats. Like I said, it is a merge between the IC 62443, which is aimed into OT systems, and the TS 5701, which is the technical specification for railway systems. Some of the key features of this standard: it's a very comprehensive framework that can help the user to implement effective cybersecurity measures. It can help him to be adaptable to address evolving technological landscape, to keep the rail system secure, even through time, even when they are going through changes and advancements. And the last thing, the safety of reliability to enhance the passenger and the personal safety, to prevent disruption and public trust. We kick off the meeting, the work group, in July 2022, and hopefully it will be approved as an international standard in July 2025. We are a group of 79 experts from 14 countries and 3 continents. Another directive coming from the European region is the NIS2 directive. This is the Network and Information Security Directive, and it was one of the first pieces of a document issued by the EU, the European Union. And the aim of this document was to achieve high common level of cybersecurity across entire member states in the European region. But because, even though it increased the cybersecurity capabilities, and those countries that use this directive, the implementation proved to be a little bit challenging. So to respond to the growing threats, the Commission made the NIS2 directive, which was entered into force early this year. Now the member states have almost 2 years, until October 24, to transpose the measures into a national law. It will be by law to implement this directive. So it's very important, at least if you are a part of the European region. In the North American market, we didn't hear anything about standards or technical specifications, nothing, until the 24th of October 2022. In this date, the Biden administration, through the Transportation Security Administration, the TSA, issued a new cybersecurity directive to regulate passenger and freight railways across the North American market. It was developed with a lot of input from industry stakeholders and federal entities, such as the THS, the Department of Homeland Security, and the CISA, the Infrastructure Security Agency, and the FRA, which is the Department of Transportation Federal Railroad Administration. And it has one goal: to strengthen the cybersecurity requirements and focus on performance-based measures to achieve critical cybersecurity outcomes in rail companies across the US. So, in contrary to many of the other documents that you've seen, this document is a directive, meaning that the railway companies need to comply. They have a few months, but they need to comply. It's by law. Some of the demands in this directive are to develop network segmentation policies and controls, to establish some kind of segmentation between the OT and the IT, for example, in the railway network, or from the Wi-Fi to the rolling stock signaling network, things like that. The second thing is to create access control measures to secure and prevent unauthorized access to critical systems in the railway ecosystem. And the last thing is to build capabilities to monitor continuously, 24/7, the entire railway networks to detect the cybersecurity threats and anomalies, and to reduce the risk of exploitation and attacking those systems. So, just to sum up about the standards, as I see it, and I've been in the industry since 2016, almost 8 years now, we see a change, we see a trend. And this trend is that from nothing, no directive, no standards, no nothing, suddenly we see the North American market and the EU region and everywhere issuing documents, issuing standards, making legislations. Why? Because they understand that this is critical infrastructure, and that for now, everything is still breached. And the only way to do it is using those kind of standards. Now, for example, I can tell you for a fact that in the state of Israel, I told you about the INCD, the Israeli National Cyber Directorate, and the fact that they control the railway regarding cybersecurity, they issued standards like that. And it's not something you can choose whether you want to implement or not. Israel Railways is compelled to implement those standards. This is the only way to do it. You cannot just wait or assume that the railway is going to do it itself. Because, as I mentioned, they don't care about cybersecurity. They care about moving passengers and freight from one place to the other. So in order to make something, there's certain laws that needs to be implied. Standards, regulations, something that you need to give to them, and you need to tell them you need to comply with this. Whether it's voluntarily, whether they must do it, I don't mind. But in every country, it needs to be like that. Now, you don't need to invent the wheel. Anybody can adopt those kind of documents. Just change it a little bit, adopt it, and use them. So it's very easy. So now I would like to discuss a little bit with you about the process, how to handle a cybersecurity incident. In most cases, and I can tell you that for a fact, we are dealing with extremely complex networks. It's a mesh of networks, of zones, and you have thousands and tens of thousands of assets. On top of that, you don't have any visibility into those complex environments. How can possibly a CISO, a cyber director, a cyber stakeholder mitigate a threat in such a complex environment? How can you do it? For example, let's say that you have a switch, one of the network switches that was attacked. Okay, where is it installed? What are the implications regarding operation? Does it affect the rolling stock? How many stations does it affect? Should I stop the transport, the railways? Can I move safely? How can you do it? So the minimum requirements to handle a cybersecurity event is first to monitor the critical network. If you don't monitor it, how can you know that something is wrong? If you don't monitor it, you will know that something is wrong when it's wrong, when you have an accident. When trains will collide, then you will know it's wrong. When train will stop, then you will know it's wrong. This is too late. After you monitor the network, you need to discover the potential threat. Now, the way I see it, because we are dealing with critical infrastructure, because we are dealing with something that can possibly affect the daily lives of the country, attacking it is like an act of war. So we are dealing with threats, with attackers that are very high level. Very high level. Those are not script kids. Those are not young hackers that just want to do mayhem. We are dealing with the real threat, meaning that it's not like in the movies where we just open a terminal, telnet, and connect to some kind of an IP address, writing 2 or 3 commands, and that's it. Everything is stopping. It's not working like that in real life. We are speaking about extensive cyber campaigns that can take years to complete. Very stealthy. Very stealthy. The attackers knows how to breach silently in a stealth way, to transfer the malware in a sleeping way, that is just, on the lowest level, waiting for the command to come. How can you discover such a threat? But you need to do it. You need to discover the potential threat using deep packet inspection, using I don't know what, AI. You need to be able to discover the threat. After that, you need to know it's a threat. You discovered something which looks abnormal. You discovered something that looks suspicious. How can you validate it? How can you know for a fact that this is a valid threat? Because the consequences are maybe to stop the train. So you better be sure that the threat is real. You better be sure that this is not just kind of a false positive. You need to validate the threat. After you validated it, it's a risk. You need to analyze the risk. You need to prioritize the risk, because in the end, you need to do something about it. Is it a high risk? Need I to stop the trains? Is it a high risk? Must I evacuate the people from the station? Or maybe it's low, and I can deal with it tomorrow. But some kind of a mechanism needs to know how to take the risk, analyze it, and prioritize it. Then you need to alert the responsible team, whether it's the SOC, whether it's the IT technicians, whether it's the OT technicians, whether it's the CISO, whether it's the CEO of the company, but you need some kind of a mechanism to alert the responsible teams that you have a threat, that you need to take action now. It can be via email, it can be via SMS, it can be whatever, but the teams must know, because now they need to act. Now, you need to assess the severity of the operational impact. Like I mentioned before, I don't care as a railway operator that a switch is not working as it should and it's attacked. I don't care about it. For me, it doesn't mean anything. I need, as a railway operator, to understand what are the operational consequences. This is the language that I am speaking. Not the IT language, not the OT language. I speak railway language. So I need something that can translate this language to my language, from the OT or IT to the railway language. And in the end, I need something that will allow me to remediate the threat, to prevent further damage, to stop the attack, and to make sure it will not happen again, at least this way. So, for example, what does it mean to monitor the entire critical network? This is a snapshot of one of our screens in our IDS system for railways, where you can see that you can map the entire critical network. You need some kind of a tool that will help you to analyze the assets, to know the way they communicate with one another, to know the threats, to know the chain of an attack, where it started, where it originated, what are the assets affected. This is the minimum data that you need in order to start the process. And I'm sorry to break out to you guys, but the only way to know that something is going on is to actively monitor your target network, whether it's the IT, whether it's the OT, whether it's the IoT, or the three of them. You need a technological tool that can connect to the target network and monitor it 24/7. Then you need to discover the potential threats. Like I said, whether it's interlocking device, whether it's a signal head, or maybe it's a rolling stock, you need to know how to dig down, search inside, using all sorts of mechanisms. You need to know how to decipher the railway protocols. These are not regular TCP/IP or UDP. We are speaking about proprietary data from OEMs like Thales, Siemens, Bombardier, Hitachi. I'm sure that you all know about them. You need to know how to open those protocols, analyze the data, understand the commands, and know how to dig really down until you will discover the potential threats in all of the layers. When you've done it, you need to validate the threats. What kind of a threat is it? Is it an exploit? Is it an exploit that someone is now using to attack you? Maybe it's just a warning. Maybe it's just a port scan. Maybe it's just a technician making a port scan. Is it a threat? No. It's maintenance. But you need to know about it. You need to validate the threat, whether it's real or maybe it's a maintenance activity. You need to know how to analyze and prioritize the risk. What are the acting assets? Who is involved in the attack? What are the consequences? What is the geographical location of the stations that are affected now? Is it important? Maybe it's not. You decide. But you need some kind of a tool that will help you to analyze and prioritize the risk. After that, you need to respond, you need to alert the responsible team with all the necessary information that can help them to deal with the attack, to mitigate the threat. You need to give them proper information that they can act upon. Whether it's the IT technicians or the OT technicians, you need to tell them, look, this is the place, this is the time, this is the switch, you need to disconnect it now, for example. You need to assess the stability of the operational impact. As I mentioned earlier, this is the most important thing. If you don't have a tool that can take the information detected and divert it into railway language, you don't have anything. You don't have anything. And I had several incidents when I was the CISO in ISR. And I didn't have such a system. I remind you, it was 7 years ago, maybe more. And when things like that happened, I was clueless. I didn't know what to do. Because for me, the information that I got was useless. A switch was attacked. A firewall detected something. Okay, what does it mean? What does it mean in operation? Should I stop something? Should I speak with the control center? What should I do? This is the minimum requirement to handle cybersecurity incidents in railway environments. And in the end, you need to remediate the threat. And the challenge here, and this is something that you don't find in, let's say, regular networks, is how to remediate the threat without being active inside the network, and I will explain. When we are dealing with critical SIL4 systems, you cannot connect to them actively. You need to be passive. You need to be able to connect to them using a post mirror or tap or a diode, a physical diode, in order not to harm the safety level of the system. So how can I remediate the threats in a passive way? The answer is that I can do it only through playbooks. You know, it's like if any of you was in the army, you have procedures. When something happens, you don't think, you act. You have a procedure, you need to follow protocol. Why? Because this is the only way. Because if you're not, you know, you will be confused. You will not know what to do. So when somebody is firing on you, you know what to do. You act immediately, on automatic. You don't think, you act. This is exactly what we mean here. In order to remediate the threat in a passive way, you need a step-by-step instruction what to do. So What are the necessary tools to mitigate it? How can you do it? I believe that there is no way, and nobody can convince me otherwise, there is no way that you can mitigate cyber threats in railway critical environments without necessary tools that will help you to achieve this task. And this is exactly what we do in Cervello. We've built this platform from the ground up to be a tool with a deep understanding of rail. Using this tool, you can see, you can secure, you can manage the entire operation across the board with actionable context. You can gain complete visibility into everything you own and possess. Your signaling networks, your IT, your OT, your rolling stock, everything on top of it. IoT, bridges, tunnels, HVAC systems, everything. Everything into one centralized place. And in the end, this is a tool, a very powerful tool that will help the team to proactively identify the threat, prioritize the threat, remediate and prevent risks to allow the ongoing operation to continue. What this tool is providing is 8 layers of protection. The first one is the network visibility. And we believe that if you don't see what you protect, you cannot protect it. If you don't know your assets, your network, how to communicate with one another, you cannot protect them. How can you? How can you? So this is the first thing. We give complete network visibility. The second thing is a way for you to manage the assets, whether it's a traffic light, whether it's an Excel counter, whether it's a switch, whether it's a printer, whether it's a server, whether it's an interlocking, but some kind of a capability that will help you to manage all of the assets across the board. The next thing is vulnerability management, and you can trust me on this one. The vulnerabilities that we find in railway networks is mind-blowing. We are dealing with, in most cases, I don't want to say most, but in a lot of the cases, with very old and outdated systems. And you don't know how many vulnerabilities you will find when you scan them. So currently, most cases, operators don't even have the ability to scan. They don't know about the vulnerabilities. Our tool can provide, from one end, the capability to scan and build a database of all the vulnerabilities found in the systems. We can help to prioritize them, and we can manage them. Why? Because in railway environments, even if you find vulnerabilities, you cannot just instruct to patch them tomorrow morning. You need to approach the vendor, Siemens, Thales, whatever. You need to approach them. You need to build a plan. You don't want a downtime. You need to build a plan. So it can take 1, 2, maybe 3, maybe 5 years to patch the entire network. What in the meantime? our system can help you both to identify and to manage those vulnerabilities. You will know when somebody is trying to use them to hack. The fourth layer is security misconfiguration. And this is a way that was developed when we installed our systems into our clients' environments. And we found out that you have a lot of misconfigurations. For example, switches that are passing credentials in clear text. So it's not a cybersecurity incident per se, but somebody can take this vulnerability, somebody can take this misconfiguration and use it to attack your system. And this is something that when you know about, it's an easy fix. You just go to the switch, change it, and that's it. And you're done. So it's a very powerful tool that can help you very easily to close gaps in your network. The fifth layer is the threat detection. And this is how we monitor 24/7, very, very deep, to detect any malware, any suspicious activity, any threat before they do something and will escalate into a severe threat. And you can't do it any other way. You cannot be responsible for railway systems and not have something that makes continuous threat detection. It's unheard of. It's the responsibility of the railway operators to do something like that. The sixth layer is the investigation and response, meaning that if now something was found, you need to investigate it. You need to see the evidence, what happened. Maybe you need to send it to the vendor. So you investigated it, now you need to respond. So we provide the step-by-step instructions, the procedures to mitigate the threat. The system also provides risk management and reporting. And you know, when I was a system, I paid so much money for third-party vendors to come to me and make me a threat assessment. And you know how they did the threat assessment? With an Excel sheet, with questions. We sat down, they asked questions, the engineer gave them answers. They calculated everything in an Excel sheet. And then they came back and they gave me a report, a risk management report, a threat assessment report. This is a joke. This is a joke. You need a tool that knows to dig down inside the network, search and build a real report, a real threat assessment tool. So this is extremely important. You know, in the end, if you want to know if you comply with the standard, if you want to know if you have gaps, you need to be able to produce a cybersecurity threat assessment report. This is the only way to do it. And you need a tool that will help you to do it. And the last layer is the network segmentation. Now, I'm sure that you all know that we are dealing with networks that hardly changes. The way they were installed 10, 15 years ago is the same way they operate today. You cannot go and make now segmentation of the networks. Maybe you can, but it's not like that. It's a very big project. Our tool can help you to do it virtually. We can decide that this network or this group of assets is a segment and nobody can speak with them. And when somebody is trying to speak with them, we raise an alert. So it's called virtual segmentation. So instead of going and configuring your switch or physically connecting wires, we can help you to make virtual network segmentation. Now, If you remember the TS-57-1, one of the best things it did was to define the railway world. What are the assets? What is the ecosystem of a railway network? And they defined that the first layer is the operational control and maintenance layer, in which you will find the TMS system and the communication and the maintenance and the personal information systems and everything. So this is the first layer. The second layer is the infrastructure, the interlocking, the RBC, the electrical substation, the tunnels, the bridges, everything which is connected to the infrastructure. Then the third layer is the trackside, where you will have the automatic train, for example, the balizes, the automatic train stop systems, point machines, things like that. And then the last layer, the fourth one, is the rolling stock, the onboard equipment. We cover everything. This is why we refer to this as a railway tool. It's not a regular IDS for OT. It's a railway IDS that covers the complete ecosystems from the ground up. How we do it? How it's done? So first of all, the challenge is, like I mentioned earlier, is how to take passively information from the entire ecosystem and do something with it. So what we do is we use software-based collectors that we passively installs on all the layers that we want. The rolling stock, the signaling, the command and control, the communication channels, IT, OT, IoT devices. We just install passively a small collector. It's tiny. Then this collector knows how to take the data, encapsulate it, and transfer it very effectively to the brain. The brain is the on-prem or virtual server that holds the rail segmentation and conduits policy engine. It's making the analytics based on AI, threat detection. It's making the rail-specific protocol analysis. Everything is going on inside the brain. By the way, the algorithm of our brain is already patented in two patents in the US and one in Europe. To this brain, we transferred the knowledge base and the vulnerabilities that we analyze in our lab. I can tell you for a fact that we have some of the brightest minds for cybersecurity in the state of Israel working in our research team. We are speaking about people that served in the most elite technological unit in the IDF, Israeli Defense Forces. Those people served for at least between 6 and 9 years as officers in this very special unit. It's an extreme elite unit, and they are making all the time researches about vulnerabilities, 0 days in railway systems and protocols. And this is very unique. You cannot find it anywhere else. This is real 0 days data that we can provide to our clients. After everything is merged together in the server, we can integrate with other systems like NAC, like databases, like firewalls, like SIEM, if you have like Splunk, QADA, whatever, and provide one management console to operate every task related to cybersecurity in your environment with one place. As I mentioned in the beginning, the system is very mature. It's already installed on a national level in SBB, the National Railway in Switzerland, which is considered to be one of the most advanced railways in the world. We are also installed on a national level in APAC, in a metro system in APAC, and also in the US. We have a collaboration agreement with Thales, one of the biggest OEMs for railway system, where they combine our expertise and knowledge together with them to add cybersecurity capabilities for their railway operation management center. And this is truly amazing. Okay, to summarize. So, first of all, it was my pleasure to be with you here today and to speak about this very close to my heart topic about cybersecurity. What I try to do is to shed a little bit light on the importance to address cybersecurity within this critical industry. How the increased digitalization of the rail system, which are good from one end, bring problems, introduce new vulnerabilities and risks all the time. We witnessed how harsh is the reality of a cyber attack of a railway network. It can cause mayhem. It can cause problems. It can cause even the loss of human lives. And you know, we showcase that our team, can attack a railway system. We did it not once and not twice, where we manipulated safety commands of railway protocols, such as the ETCS, causing accidents, causing trains to enter an already occupied lines. So we know it can be done. We know attackers can cause accidents in railway, for sure. We try to explore the landscape of cybersecurity standards to showcase to you how important countries and continents are taking this into consideration, working to supply standards for the industry. And lastly, how fostering collaboration, staying informed, and implement best practices and the dedicated tools we can mitigate together the threats and supply to our citizens a railway that we can rely on. I want to thank you all so much. I'm here with you today. If you have any questions, I'm here. We can discuss them. I can answer to you. And in any case, you can feel free. If you would like to hear more about our solution and our expertise, you can reach out to me directly. I will write my email in the chat now that you can use and to approach me.
Thank you, Israel, for this wonderful insight on rail cybersecurity. Thank you so much for enlightening our participants on various aspects of rail cybersecurity. really grateful for your perspectives. There are some questions which our participants have asked. So we can take them after our next expert completes his presentation. So now I would like to invite our next panel expert, Mr. Rajesh Patel, to share his presentation. Welcome, sir.
Yeah. Let me share my screen.
Participants, please keep writing your questions. We'll take them up once Mr. Patel's presentation is complete.
Sumit, it is visible now?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah,
it is.
thank you.
You may put it on the slide.
Yeah. So first of all, let me thank you, Mr. Baron, for very detailed, exhaustive. Yeah.
Sir, could you put it on the slideshow mode, sir?
Yeah. Just. Okay. Now it's okay. Hello. Are you able to
Yes, sir. Yes,
hear me? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we see everything.
Yeah, thank you. So first, thank you very much, Mrs. Israel Baron, for detail on particular subject, which is really I am also exploring to this. And thank you, Mrs. Sumit, for this opportunity. First, I will introduce myself in brief. I have worked 20 years in government railway, Indian Railway Services as signal and telecom engineer, and I was associated with the earlier version of Kavach, which was anti-collision device, and we have done experiment on all those things, installation, etc. Last 10 years, I am working from independent safety assessor company, TIC company, and I was project manager ISA for Dubai Expo 2020. And particularly now, presently I am on Israel for Tel Aviv Metro project as a engineering safety manager. But before that, I was particularly involved in establishing ISA in India, different company, and fortunately two company got their ISA. How to get ISA under conformity assessment standards. And presently also I'm the founder of one of the association, which is particular on fire safety, etc. for certification of person. So let me start from this one, and we have any question we'll talk. So first, thank you, Mr. Baron, for taking this one, and it is very insightful presentation on cyber security. As I am basically from railway background, signal and telecom. Last 10 years, I was looking after all the domain of railway. So I just try to put up some of the point where there is a gap between rail domain and cyber security and cyberspace domain. So these are the particular challenge I see. Railway domain is particularly, as Baron has already said, it is a mindset of the people, the way they design the railway system from the very beginning, from concept level, which is quite different than cyber security, cyber domain, which is very dynamic and every time it is very evolving sort of thing. And railway, when we design railway with give concept, it is like 20 year, 30 year, what should be the projection of PPHPD, peoples per hour, per direction, what sort of things. So it is a long time things, whatever we system we put it, mostly become too legacy, and we continue to go on retrofitting. Some changes has taken place. We just put it right. So it is like our priority on safety and all the other things, just things goes on. And more like it is an altogether different platform. It is railway is basically you can say it is a physical. If you compare with cyber security, it is a digital platform where IT and OT the main things are sort of thing. And railway, when we design railway, we particularly focus on rules, use and misuse of the system. But when we are going for cyber security, now it is going on exploitation. Um, so ransomware, abuse, etc. So this is the new thing we are experiencing in our railway domain. How to tackle with this? We'll say that one. When we go for railway domain, it is mostly on technical, but when we are going cyber security, it is like a whole business. It is not only the running of the thing, but beyond the thing, many things are happening. And I will tell you, because I was also an advisor for environment, social impact on one of the recently locomotive factory in India. I was for work, and we find it now. Whole world is changing. A railway cannot deny itself to be a closed environment. It has to think about UN Sustainable Development Goal in every aspect of that one. How it is affecting economy, technological things are there. So our business, our all projects are taking a new turn. Earlier, when we had 20 year back, I have to read only about the technical specification and commercial specification. I have not too much bother about what sort of impact it will have. But today, when I am preparing this document, I have to see in a whole life cycle from the purchase of the third party, how the environment is getting affected, what sort of thing may take up, those things are has to be taken care of. So railway domain and cyber security, they are a bit different, and our approach is mostly on safety. But cyber security is a, when you are there is a security is a sort of physical security, and now we are talking digital security. As Baroness say, people sitting somewhere can introduce intrusion, and they can do many sort of things which are harmful for the system of the working. As I say, safety in design, it is risk-based approach, and our whole acceptance are goes like this. As I saw, and most of the people are here on a railway background, they must have seen safety case. This is the where we do all sort of our um, we say whatever claim we make it, we give our reports, we give our everything on risk basis. But when we go cyber security, it is security in design. What is explicitly obligatory principle we take in it is like only cyber security. It is a digital thing. But when I am working on a project, I have to say risk-based approach on many things. Systems in system safety is one of the thing. Cyber security another thing. So I have to take care of many sort of standard which is coming into play. So how to harmonize all those things when I am only working on EN 50126, which is now, when you are in such sort of domain, sector evolve, like when in early 90s, when Europe was European Union was formed, so many things has come, Senelec standard come. So how they have started all things? Because all those are where the business says. They have to say economy, they have to make people working, their business has to be increased. So one by one, they have gone for different sector, and railway was one of the sector. So it given is a legal teeth. So these are things to be done by every member countries also. So those were the things, and gradually now EN 50126 2018 has come, where we have different life cycle and how to do this specification and demonstration of reliability, availability, and safety. So all subsystems, they have taken 4 major points: reliability of system, availability of system, maintainability of some system. Now the safety. Now in safety, we say all sort of things. Like when I am taking as a safety personnel, I take cyber security is one of like EMC sort of, which is a hazard sort of thing coming. So I can make those things very presentable, acceptable format to our authority, because say railway goes for their permit to operate. When finally any operator go to regulator for their clearance, they have to submit their application, they have to see, I want this permit. At that time, what are the things they have? So what I do, I have to segregate different sort of safety cases, because it is not the end at the end, but there is so many water already flown, means from the design level also. So I have to say safe your initial safety cases, what we get product safety case, etc., where the contractor first supply their equipment, whether it is safe or not. Now, if I say it is safe or not, I have to see also cyber security wise safe or not. So their certificate has to include all those measures. When I go for design level, in a project level, so I have to keep whether there is application design. Then I have to say up to design stage, whatever claim you are making, are you able to defend all your argument or not? So those things are design level. Then we have go to like project level. When installation is done, your testing and commissioning is been testing and commissioning and all coming. At that, all your processes are in place, and all the requirements, safety related application condition of the product are maintained. So their seal certificate is maintained. It will cover all things. But now when I say the cyber security, now there are other things, the risk management. When you go for any project sort of thing, and thereafter any entity, which is a railway entity which will operate itself. So they go for risk management. It is goes on your organization level, top level. So there are also risks are there. Then when I go towards cyber security, I have to see their information security management system. Those standards are there. Now you come to cyber security like EN 50701 is another standard. So all other these things, when I see from the railway personnel point of view, and what he rightly said, at what level it should get it. In my present project, I put it in the very beginning because I am here as a system safety manager. I put it because here we have been asked to give European directives as per I have to develop the permission to operate, permission processes as per European directives. So as per European, what sort of the permit you will you, when you are going for permit, what should be steps will be there? What sort of ISA should be involved in this one? So when you see different sort of certificate coming, different sort of permit will come, but finally it is only one permit you go for that. Before that, it is all the responsibility of the project holder to comply from the very beginning. Your system requirement has to be very clear, specific. And when we go for cyber security, now this cyber security issue, you say railway, yes, what Baron say, 1 billion people, about 1 billion people means 8 billion is the population of the world, and 1 billion is 16% of population are on the train, and they are at the vulnerable. But fortunately or unfortunately, you can say when cyber security has come, it has come on energy, electric supply, gas, banking sector, health. These were much more sensitive than railway it will consider. So our most of the cyber security expertise are those people were mostly consumed by that one. But fortunately, people like Baron and companies like Silas and Cervello is there who are focusing on railway sector, and we are not only this one, we are as a railway, our final certificate come on safety case or those application. What we are trying to do it to include cyber security standard, like here also from the very beginning. No, it was left out, then I put it on the very beginning. It should be embedded in your design itself. So when you go on the later stage, whatever standards are there, you have to see compliances. So gradually you can see how your system is designed, and as EN 50126, say most of the all ISA, independent safety assessor who are accredited to 7020 or 17065 standard, they are accredited for 50126. So they are mandated to assess any system as per life cycle given in 50126, where they have to see all verification and validation in different life cycle has been done. Now, initially, when about 2 years back, when I was starting this cybersecurity, one thing I have started with what is initial station, let all cybersecurity step or standards how they are going to develop, they should be harmonized by EN 50126. So my ISA will be intact, my process is intact, people will be able to understand what are things to be done, what are the verification and validation document to be done, what are test scenario has to be given. What good thing later on comes when the tools are available to validate these things. So gradually you will find this omnipresent and omnipotent cybersecurity can be handled in a safe manner, and railway are now gradually now awakening. Yes, these are the signs. What Baroness said in 2013, how Iran nuclear installation uh, was was intruded, and recently we have seen so many cases of particularly electricity breakdown or those things happen. And he rightly said, most of the time, victims are not disclosing. So whatever we are getting the information is the tip of the iceberg. People are said. Recently in India, one of the most biggest bank was compromised. But most of the time it is like ransomware sort of thing. People was not so much affected, and victim also settle the things out of way goes, and so they are not getting. But as a railway person, I have to always see what are my function, where it is getting affected, where the intrusion came, where the third party come. Because in cybersecurity, the um, uh, threat actor may be sitting on my system for quite long time. He will be studying how the things are happening, where the things are, what sort of people are behaving, what sort of different system are behaving. They can take up the exploitative scenario and they can use those things. Fortunately, so far, not come to those sort of accident scenario, but what he said, it is very possible. There is nothing can be done, can be said. It is not impossible because the CBTC and all those things are coming, and there are chances to compromise. So it has to be uh, inculcated in the design level itself how to go ahead with this. And as far as I say, this um, uh, real cybersecurity cyberspace is concerned, and where the um, opportunities are there. Yes, as a safety person, I will see when the people from different background. Say first time when I taken the um, TCMS or ACD, their safety cases, etc. I was very much inclined to go deep on the life cycle of software. How the software, what are the things to be done, etc. So software expert will go deep in detail, and they will find out what are my things. Because when I was working on anti-collision device, my software counterpart company fellow are coming and they say, your point machine, your diversion is a blockage. This is an intrusion. So I have a different strategy. Earlier I was using as a useful thing. Then they say how harmful it can be. So it gives a different perspective. Opportunity for fellow who are coming from software and etc. is very much there, but gradually it will take time. People has to understand what is the this value for money or this investment on cyber security, because still there is a thing, it is a closed domain, but even one or two opening, or as you say, it is a very complex system, distributed system, even your supply chain is there. So any weakness at any level can be harmful for the whole system. So how to plug it there, how to educate it, how to make aware that and how to make it cost effective. That was another things are coming for new fellow who was coming. It is coming on discussion also, how my own regulatory document are things are required as a uh, base to get the operation license, etc., and continues to make it safe. For that, those sort of security personnel will always be in a demand. And as I earlier said, railway incidents are not so many, but they are happening, and some of the things already Baron has showed. Um, so cyber security is will be on demand. But thing is that you have to understand railways, what are the railway requirement. When I go, so I will go at what extent it can be automated. Because say, whatever process is there, if I have to run my train in 2-minute interval, headway is 2 minutes. So whatever process is required for running up the railway, I have to do that one. But other things, like you say, like tunnel ventilation, what sort of things can happen. Now, this cyber domain has been weaponized. What will happen if my train is stranded in the tunnel and my tunnel ventilation do not work? So now I am using SCADA or PLC. So now around the PLC, I am designing my SCADA system, which is very specific to my project. Now I have to see from other point of view, including cyber security point of view, how to keep it safe. So there are many areas where cybersecurity is directly touching to the safety critical uh, operation or function of the railway, and it will be very imperative to have all those things in place. So I will take any questions further are there.
Yes.
But most of things Varun also detail, and I have what I think why railway is not using, what sort of difference are there, and where the things lies.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful add-on session. And we'll move on to taking questions now.
Yeah.
So I'll start with question which Nandish has raised. So
Yeah.
what are the common loopholes which cyber attackers use to get into the network? So Baron, would you like to put some insight on this? You mute. Baron, you're mute.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Indeed, I was mute. So in most cases, there are no real rules, to be honest. The way I see it is that in most cases, the attackers are learning the network, identify the holes, the breaches that can be used. It can be a Wi-Fi, it can be a misconfigured switch, it can be a misconfigured firewall, it can be a misconfigured VPN, it can be anything. For an attacker, you can never anticipate. You know, everything can be manipulated, everything can be breached. But I think that in most cases, the most common way to enter the network will be through the perimeters, emphasizing the communication channels and especially Wi-Fi or IoT devices.
All right, thank you. Next question is from Ashish. When we go to the life cycle of overall security where UT can be applied, why cannot you apply them in development and testing phase? Baron, would you like to add something to it?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
When we go to the life cycle of the overall security where UT can be applied, why cannot
what can apply?
UT? Ashish, could you elaborate what you mean by UT?
What is it?
Okay, I'll move on to the next question as he explains what he has asked. What are the okay. Balaji has asked, since we are an OT closed network with internal firewalls established for each subsystem connected with in-system and are monitored on top of this, how to define CS scope specific to signaling systems, telecom systems in maintenance phase?
Okay, so what needs to be done is that you need the fact that it's a closed OT network doesn't mean anything. You need to put some kind of a tool that will actively monitor the network and know how to detect the abnormal behavior, let's say, and detect whether it's a threat or not. This is the only way to do it.
Okay, Rajesh, thank you. Rajesh is asking, if we go for fully Linux system, the requirement of cybersecurity will be less and manageable. Correct me if I'm wrong. Otherwise, blockchain is also a good option, so struggle would be less. If we talk about hybrid mesh firewall system, the load on processor will be more and can impact the operation. What are your views?
First of all, I think that in every one of the cases where you implement a cybersecurity solution, they must not affect the operation regarding bandwidth and things like that. It needs to be lean and efficient enough that it wouldn't affect the operation. Can you repeat the beginning of the question again, Sumit?
If we will go for fully Linux system, the
Yeah, okay. So about the Linux, I think that in most cases we are speaking about, at least in the signaling environment, we are speaking about Linux or Linux-based systems, and we already showed more than once that it's breachable. Absolutely, it's not a guarantee to use a Linux system not to be attacked. Attackers knows how to attack Linux systems.
Thank you. Ashish is asking, isn't TS 507 2023 based on NIST 800 framework? If it is not, how is it different from NIST 800 framework?
Okay, so to be honest, about the 2023 version, I still don't know. I just downloaded it myself yesterday. So I cannot comment on that. I still don't know. I haven't read it yet. It was only published 2 weeks ago, so it's very new.
Okay. Mike is asking, are modern security practices like zero trust architectures and just-in-time privilege access commonly leveraged for railway on the OT side?
We use zero trust, but I don't know about the entire industry, to be honest.
Okay. Saeed is asking, where SCADA OT cybersecurity fits in railways? For example, power network or railway electrification, or is rail cybersecurity part of IACS cybersecurity?
Yeah, for sure. These are part of cybersecurity for sure. Everything is part of cybersecurity for railway, whether it's a bridge, whether it's an HVAC system, it can be an elevator, it can be the ticketing, everything. Absolutely.
Okay. Rajesh sir, there is a question from Pradeep. He's asking, actually for Kavach, ETCS L2 type of project for cybersecurity proposes they were using KMS technology for authentication. What are your views on this?
Yeah, say when we started in 2003, when I was doing this testing and etc. Now it is architecture is quite different and it has changed quite in a big way. And thing is that I'm not very sure what the latest architecture they are giving. I was associated with them in 2010 or 11. Now my other friend is taking over that one. But what say in case of cyber security, when I say so many sort of security everywhere, risks are coming up. Now we should be one thing in cyber security. We should the hacker, a threat actor are much more smarter than the time we preparing our specification. It is very evolving. Whatever sort of things you take it, you keep your value or your time or money keep aside. But whatever once they say it has to be done, they can do it. Only thing through monitoring etc. We it is like what sort of defense we prepare. Earlier, when we are giving any EN 50129 etc., 159 etc., we say threat and defense sort of thing. But now the threat is ever evolving. Whatever system you will take, there are other people who are available to do for this thing, and even in internet, there is a dark internet. Whole business is going on. We are just on the tip of the iceberg. So no technical evolution is sufficient for that, because equally or more competent people are there to do it. It is every day. It is a like a police and thief. It is continuous growth. So everywhere you have to be on toe what you are doing.
Thank you, sir. Israel, this question is for you from Pankaj. He's asking, is your product a foolproof end-to-end solution, or your solution will still require other equipments like diodes and etc.?
So first of all, it's a complete end-to-end solution. You don't have to add anything. About the diode, this is something that needs to be decided by the end user. So for example, I worked in the Ministry of Defense. We use diodes all the time. In railway, it's rare, more rare, but the client can add if he decide to add another layer of security using the diode. But again, we don't supply it. We supply only a software-based solution, but it's an end-to-end holistic solution.
Okay, thank you, Israel. I will take the last question. Venkatesh is asking, do we need to update patch firmware for closed OT network equipment? Example, Thales signaling system.
Yes, so the answer is absolutely yes, absolutely yes. And this is why I told you before, there is no such a thing, a closed network. You will have technician entering this network. You could have a malware on top of one of those computers entering the network, manipulating the malware. So absolutely, all networks, whether they are closed, whether they are open, needs to be patched.
Thank you,
Because
Israel.
if you don't, you will have thousands and thousands of doors, back doors, then can be manipulated to penetrate the network.
Okay. Divyesh has asked about, he's a fresher engineer and wants to build up a career in cybersecurity from scratch. So Divyesh, our answer is that Railway Academy is preparing a course program on rail cybersecurity, which we're planning to launch in the coming weeks. We'll please stay in touch through our LinkedIn page. We'll be updating more details there. One question I would like to ask both our experts is that how do you see rail cybersecurity as an industry evolving for providing career opportunities to rail professionals who want to transition into rail cybersecurity? So where do you think that they should be planning their career transitions? Baron, you can start from here. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Me or
Yeah.
Mr. Rice?
Baron, you can start, and then I'll go to Raj.
Okay, so I think it's a great question, because the way I see it, to be a cybersecurity expert in the railway domain, you need to know both. You cannot be just a cyber expert and don't know the rail language or the railway systems or the railway operations, or you cannot be successful. So from one end, you need to learn this, and one end you need to know that. And I can give you an example. When I was a CISO in ISR, what I did is I have sent signaling engineers and railway experts without any prior knowledge of cybersecurity. I've sent them to a cybersecurity course. And then I took my guys from the cyber team, which had no knowledge of railway operations, and I've sent them to a network, to a signaling course, for them to understand how is the railway operating, what is the signaling network, what is the control center, how do they issue commands, how everything is working together. So I believe that if you want to be successful in cybersecurity for railway, you need to learn both. If you know cybersecurity, you need to add information about the railway. If you are a railway expert and you want to be successful, you need to add some kind of a cyber course to your knowledge.
Thank you, Israel. Thank you so much for this wonderful insight. Rajesh, sir, would you like to elaborate
Yeah,
more?
yeah. Nah, Baron has correctly said. Say, until unless you even if you are a cybersecurity expert, or what for that matter, any expert of the EMC or whatever software experts are there. But until unless you don't understand the nitty-gritty or domain knowledge, why people are doing, what sort of their objectives are there, how they are implementing their requirement. Say when you go for system, your functional requirement to system requirement to hardware, software requirement, the criticality requirement, how you are implementing. If cybersecurity fellow will read your mind, yes, this is how their mind is going. They want to do that. Then he can very much trace them where he can fail when they are going for cybersecurity. So, as a cyber, see, if you are a cybersecurity, it is a open for because there are many fields are there. Particularly, you can say energy sector, oil, gas, water supply, and any field. Cybersecurity now everywhere. Even you say this banking sector, etc., everywhere, health, etc. But if you are going and you inclined to come in a railway or for that matter any domain, your domain knowledge is very important. Then only you could put proper questions. Say one thing you have to say their terminology. If you are asking a railway person, you have to have some terminology. So even it is a independent safety assessor, whether I have to accept as given report or not, whatever proof here given is acceptable or not. Until unless I don't know their language, I cannot understand this. So it is important. If you are in a cyber security and have your inclination in railway domain, just go through those terminology, their nitty gritty, how functional requirement a design manager is implementing in their design, because system architecture is very important. You have to understand why they are implementing, how technology thinks they are.
Thank you so much, Rajesh sir and Mr. Baron. Thank you so much for taking out your precious time to provide interesting perspectives on rail cybersecurity and answer a lot of questions which our participant posed. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you, participants, for being very patient. We've actually exceeded by 30 minutes, and I can still see 68 plus participants, which is almost about 40% of the total people who attended. So I think this session would have been valuable for you in all respects. If you have any follow-up questions about Cervello, about the topics which were covered here, please feel free to write to us, and we will send your queries to Baron and Rajesh sir to provide more insights on this. People who would like to contact Cervello to organize a virtual meeting to explore their solutions, you may contact them directly. Baron has already shared his email ID. If you'd like us to connect you, we'll be more than happy to do so as well. So thank you so much and have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Varun. We may have to meet. I am in the Haloni here. We will see you. Yeah, it's nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Have a nice day. Thank you, Sumit.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.